Frank. It seems like every week, Raheem Mostert just seems to kind of get more of a workload in the offense, and coming off the kind of significant knee injury last year, I think maybe that's a little bit of a surprise early on. What have you seen from him, and why is he just such a good fit for this running offense?
Sure, I think his history, obviously, in the system helps him really understand what we're trying to do, and I think it's also a testament to how he is as a worker and as a man. I mean, he really attacked his rehabilitation. He attacked trying to get better on his things that he was trying to improve on in his overall playing as a complete back. So I would say that, with Mike's history with him, and, I know Wes and John as well come from San Francisco, I wouldn't say we're really surprised with anything he's doing. We're more that this was the expectation that we kind of were expecting when we brought him here.
We've heard a lot about the various teaching methods, for like wide receivers getting off the route and whatnot. Is there any like specific teaching methods that you kind of instill with running backs when it comes to kind of reading and working with the offensive line and when they cut on the wide zone?
Yeah, oh, totally. I think that when you're building a system like we have in the running game, and you're really starting from scratch compared to what they were doing last year, there's going to be a constant evolution as you go, because you're just learning all the variables that occur, because no one defense is the same from one play to the next. So the runners are learning how they fit with the line. The line's learning how they fit with the runner, and how the running back blocks for the O-line with his track and his intent and his read. So I think that Raheem, coming from the system, understood some of those things, but it's a new line. And then the linemen are understanding what we're trying to do with fundamentals and techniques. So, I think we previewed it a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, when we're talking about the running game and how it's got to progress. It's like the only time you get real-time work on these things is in season, because in the preseason, all they got, it's its own element. So sometimes it doesn't start off looking naturally how you want it to look, and right around quarter two is really kind of where you start learning where you're at, and you start seeing the progression, the evolution to where you want to go.
Frank, I've got a Teron Armstead question. It seemed to me that pass protection and run blocking were better last week. Is that true, and how much credit should Teron get for that, if that is true?
Yeah, he did. He takes all the credit. He's, for who he is as a person, as a pro, we weren't surprised. I'm just fortunate enough to have the familiarity with him from when we drafted him in New Orleans, and he was about as easy as a free agent signing as you can get, because we knew the quality of the man was going to be just as high as the player. So as he's working through things that, when you don't necessarily in pro football feel your best every week, he's just a consummate pro, and he's going to make sure on Sundays he's ready to perform. And as he was working through his injuries, I think that you felt last week was more of where he wants to play, because he was able to have a week to really kind of get his body right.
And it seemed we didn't hear Alex Highsmith's name hardly at all, and he lined up across from Teron a lot. What can one man do for an offense? Does he makes Eichenberg's job easier, Connor Williams' job easier? What does Teron do for an offense?
Well, I think it really, it's not just Teron. I think it's the whole offense. Because Tua was back as well. We were operating closer to where we were earlier in the season with the people that were out there. I think team protection is more than just one man. It's also the timing of the play, the quarterback understanding when the ball is going to come out, the running backs knowing that where they fit into it. I think everyone's at the right spot at the right time on their routes. I think ultimately it's not necessarily one guy, one man who plays at such a high level like he does helps, but there's more that goes into it, because you could block the hell out of the guy, but if the quarterback's not getting the ball at the right time, the receivers aren't at the right depth, I think that impacts everything. And then when we're playing as a team, as a unit, that's where you just see the execution. So one man doing his job helps, but it requires all 11 to work on the same page in execution of the play.
Frank, when you referenced second quarter earlier in our conversation, you meant the second quarter of the schedule, right? Not
yes.
A game. Right. So in terms of the progress of a developing offense and a newly installed scheme, what are some of the precise areas in which there should be more refinement that will allow there to be, not just the the good numbers in the yards per play and yards per game, but points per game. What is, in other words, to take that next step, the next level for the offense to be operating on the cylinders it should be? What are a few key points?
Sure. I think that ultimately you see players playing with better fundamentals. You're seeing hopefully penalties decrease. You're seeing more consistency in our play production. You ultimately want to see us moving the ball efficiency, to your point, scoring points. Quarter two has always been the measure. However, that's when things are always going. They're operating with consistency with the unit. You're not dealing with massive injuries or stuff that we've had to overcome. So it's like, does it change your timeline? Maybe a little bit. It just makes you a little bit more knowing that it's going to be maybe when you get the whole group together, you're probably looking more towards the end of this month. It's always kind of been the reference, because that was something like always that I understood from, when in New Orleans with Sean Payton. I mean, we always talk about, right, quarter one, knowing that we got to win those 4-game block, all right, to come out of quarter one, all right, in a good position in the division. And really in quarter two, you kind of really know who you are as a team, because as you acquire all the talent there, and sometimes new coaches, new everything, it is until you get a quarter of the season done where you kind of really understand those things. But then that's what you like to see. You like to see more consistent production, more smooth operation, and I think that's what we'll hopefully start seeing here in the next couple of weeks.
Frank, we heard from Mike that maybe some of the some timing on some of the routes wasn't exactly where it needs to be after Tua spent so much time away. I guess, how are you feeling about that timing and that chemistry now that he's had a week and a half and a game of practice back under his belt?
Yeah, better. I think we felt it yesterday with some of the stuff we're doing, the communication that they're having between each play, making sure that he understands where they need to be. They understand where he's looking and the timing of the play versus the coverages. I think that, when you come back from several games off and you're the quarterback, I mean, it's the hardest position to play because you can sense if something's off. So I think, though, but it comes down to the measure of the man to get it corrected. And what the greatest thing about Tua is that he is so well prepared. He attacks each day. Like, it probably is zero issue to us in our head, because like yesterday we saw how he's communicating with the wide receivers and the runners to where they need to be, and then the tight ends as well with what he's expecting in the timing of the play. So I think that hopefully we're going to see this week an improvement on that.
Just to follow up real quick, when you say like you can, when you can sense that something is off, like you mean like the coaches can sense something is off, or like the quarterback can sense when something is off?
The players know always before we do. So they're the ones that normally talk to each other before it even gets to us when we're operating on a high level. So, and then in turn, it's just, they're working through certain stuff because every week coverages are different. Defenses try and stop you different ways. And I think that the greatest gift is that we have players that own what we're doing, and they're the ones that take the lead on getting everything on the same page.
Frank, Chase is going through a rough patch catching the ball. Do you see him like fighting the ball a little bit, pressing a little bit, and regardless of the reason, how do you get him back on track?
Yeah, I think ultimately is like when you're a guy like Chase who has had production in this league, you're wanting to make that play, and sometimes you're straining a little bit more to be perfect as opposed to just playing your game, and your preparation and practice leads you to that production in the game. And I would say that we're not concerned. We're trying to help him through all that stuff because we've seen it with him, and we just want to get him, because all it's going to take is that one play, and like a guy like him, it's just you'll get back on rhythm. And I think that's ultimately the challenge for all of us, where you don't do something to the level at which you expect. All right, now you start and it's really, reality is that go back to the process, what it gets you on track, and then when you get the process right, the results will come. So I think that's kind of the core foundational piece to our program here, is that we're always making sure that we're process-based over result. So, because, still we have so much left in the season, we're counting on him, and we know that he's going to step up when it most matters as we build for, hopefully the playoffs in, a couple months.